The Berlin Wall. Introduction. Construction began on August 13, 1961. It separated East and West Berlin. West Berlin was occupied by the Western Allies, which was Britain and the United States. East Germany, which was also known as East Berlin, was occupied by the Soviet Union. This wall was demolished on November 9, 1989. Where it all began. Allied forces took different parts of Germany and occupied the territory that they had took. The Soviet territory were under communist rule, leading to vastly different societies on either side of the divide. Communist leaders did not want their citizens crossing over into a free society. This led to the construction of the wall and the beginning of the Iron Curtain. The Iron Curtain. The Iron Curtain was the boundary line that divided Europe into two different parts. It was divided into Western Europe, which was a free society, and Eastern Europe, which was a communist society. The name was first coined by Winston Churchill on March 5, 1946, at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri. This was the signage of peace, also known as the Iron Curtain speech. The curtain lasted until the fall of the Soviet Union, which collapsed in 1991. Cold War influence. East Germans were dissatisfied with the Soviet government, leading to an average of nearly 2,000 East Germans crossing into West Germany every single day. Many of the 2,000 were essential, this leading to a devastating effect on the economy of East Germany. Heeding the advice of the Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev, East Germany laid nearly 30 miles of barbed wire between East and West Berlin on the night of August 12, 1961. East Berlin citizens were banned from traveling into West Berlin. Cold War influence continue. The West threatened a trade embargo as a retaliation for the barrier. The Soviets responded by setting up a land blockade of West Berlin. Things quickly escalated, emboldening East Germany authorities, leading to the shutting down of checkpoints and the replacement of the barbed wire with concrete. The idea was not to hold them hostage, but to shield them from the influence of capitalist societies. And now I have a little video that kind of explains it a little better.
As the communist barrier between East and West Berlin grows higher and stronger, the more determined grows the will of those in the East to escape. Along the border, East Berliners are forced to evacuate their homes as the communist police move to prevent their escape. Camera crews are harassed by reflecting mirrors in the hands of East German police, and water hoses are played on equipment. Nevertheless, our reporters are able to come up with some remarkable pictures, despite these hazards. Smoke and tear gas bombs sometimes boomerang on the East German troops. It's like a deadly game of badminton. East Berliners who have apartments facing the border take the long chance when they get orders to leave their homes for the interior. While an East German guard attempts to yank her back to prison, West Berliners pull her to a fire net and freedom. Heedless of danger, from 4th and 5th floor windows, from any hatchway open to escape, they flee. This woman drops into a net held by alerted firemen. And then, as a tense crowd watches, she is followed by her husband. But first, he throws out a few prized possessions. Determined to protect their people from such temptations, the East Germans are raising homes and buildings along the border and creating a 10-foot ditch to prevent autos and trucks from crashing the barrier. The East Germans don't seem to have guards enough to plug every hole. When a soldier's attention is diverted by others, a hole is cut in the barbed wire and Khrushchev's face is slapped again. Camera can capture but a few isolated instances of these heroic escapes, but enough to present a remarkable document of our time. Remember, these people are risking their very lives to taste something we too often take for granted: liberty. At times, the border guards seem to make but half-hearted attempts to stop their fleeing countrymen. They never use their guns within camera range, though there have been many reports of shootings. Maybe someday they too hope to sample the sweet taste of freedom.
As you could see in that video, the people of East Berlin, this was a very, very hard time for them, and that was very bad suffering, but finally one day they were going to be free. Escaping. Early on, many people were able to climb over the wall using rope, while others ran vehicles into the barrier. People were so desperate to escape they would even jump out of windows of apartments bordering the barrier. As these escapes continued, the wall was made more secure to prevent the easy escapes. Around 140 people were killed at the wall trying to escape. One of the most famous instances was 18-year-old Peter Fetcher, who was shot and left to bleed to death by East German border guards. The fall. The near 30-year-old symbol of the Cold War fell during the night of November 9th, 1989, as crowds of Germans knocked down the Berlin Wall. In an attempt to save the Soviet Union, Russian leader Mikhail Gorbachev broke off from many of the Russian-controlled countries, leaving them to fall under the pressure of Eastern Europe. After the blundered announcement by the East German government, officials stated that border checkpoints were now open and people found that border guards were letting people freely cross. Very soon, people on both sides began breaking the wall down with hammers, chisels, and etc. Finally free. Once the wall was down, a massive celebration began because the people of East Germany were finally free. The fall of the Berlin Wall was the beginning of the chain of events that would lead to the end of the Cold War and the fall of the Soviet Union. There is a day set aside every year on November 9th to celebrate the fall of the Berlin Wall. With that being said, the people of East Germany were now free and no longer had to suffer.